Reminds me of photos I've seen of the First World War. It's just as much of an atrocity, really. Next up, we're going to have Amy with a report as well. 1 in 120 people worldwide have been forced to flee their home. Just think about that. 1 in 122 people. 51% of refugees are children. I leave it at that.
I've got to read from this because otherwise I'm just going to get too emotional and lose my face. So forgive me for reading it, but I just can't do it otherwise. Okay? I've got a really big mouth usually if people can hear me without it. Okay. I was first compelled to get involved and active in the refugee crisis when I saw images on the news of children freezing cold, wet, and making the crossing by boats. It brought me to tears watching the news regularly. I remember one news feature particularly. It showed a clip of a woman from Syria, I think. She was talking to camera while sitting on the edge of a road, brushing her little girl's long brown hair. She was very upset, animated, and pleaded with the camera crew to take her child. Keep her safe, get her out of here. This shook me to the core and made me think about my own children. A mother asking someone to take her own child away, pleading to a stranger. I couldn't bear it. Only pure desperation would bring a mother to do this. Furthermore, she was a teacher, so obviously she had worthy skills. She would be an asset to any country, yet she was forced to sit like a dog on the side of the road, waiting for border controls to let her through. The injustice in all of this upsets me so much. Okay, so that's how it started for me. Shortly after this, we set up a group in Bristol and planned to take our collection of aid to the Calais camp, but soon heard about a little-known, smaller camp in Dunkirk, where literally no aid was getting through. We heard there were women and children there, and a heavily pregnant woman also, so we diverted all our attentions there. Going to Grand Synth in Dunkirk the first time had a profound effect on me. The stories I heard whilst meeting the few residents of this camp brought me to tears daily. There were only 300 people on that camp on my first visit. I've been back 3 more times and it's grown to 3,000 now. That's just in 6 months. I then went to Samos. I felt compelled to go. Here the situation is very different, and it was incredibly emotional to see both ends of the refugees' journey through Europe, i.e. the beginning in Greece, and then some I saw in their final destination or stopgap in a muddy camp in Dunkirk. Samos was entirely different in many ways to France. The refugees here are totally traumatised after a horrendous and scary sea crossing. They are wet, need clothes and shelter, but once they have recovered, they become quite jubilant. They feel the worst is over. They are free. Those that make it to shore are given donated blankets and a tent for the night to sleep on a cold floor. But anything is better than a boat, and they are safe, away from ISIS, away from Assad, away from the bombs. I don't know how anyone can question the motives of these people, who honestly would go through that ordeal, let alone put their beloved child through it, unless you absolutely had no choice. No one puts their child on a boat unless the water is safer than the land. Their time on the port is short, a few days to recover and then register and then get a ferry ticket to Athens for the next leg of their epic journey. This is them going off on the ferry to Athens. I took that picture. They board the ferry to Athens with such optimism, big smiles, cradled tiny babies, children holding hands, the very elderly, a disabled man in a wheelchair, many pregnant women and young lads away from their mums. It's these young lads I feel so sorry for. I started this completely compelled as a mother of young children, but I feel so extremely frustrated by the injustice these young Kurdish and Arabic lads have to go through. They have often faced the most hideous ultimatum in their life: to join ISIS and kill others, or be killed, or watch someone they love be killed. That's the reality of the situation for these young men. That's why there are so many young men. And when people say stuff like, why don't they just stand and fight? My heart breaks a little more. I want to shout, with what? These are just everyday people living in a very complicated, multifaceted war zone with no common enemy. The police, the army, the terrorists, no one can be trusted. When I chat to the men, they often talk about their mothers back home who told them to leave. They tell me of the horrific stories of seeing their uncle beheaded or their brother abducted and never seen again, their university bombed and many of their friends killed. I hear all these stories and think, just because they are men, why does no one care about them or their story? It's these boys I call the lost boys, who I cry for.
Yeah.
Can you go to the next slide? It's these guys. The sadness behind their eyes, as they smile and chat, they have horrific stories, like everyone else. And it's so conflicting, because on one hand you hear people suspecting that they might be terrorists, but these are the good people. They are running away from those very people we also fear. And on the other hand, Europe wants to push them back to the terrorists. We should be welcoming them with open arms. These are the good men. They are hoping for a safe life, a better life, kindness and citizenship, and a job they can be successful in and add to the society who open their borders to them. They are our brothers, our fathers and our sons, and we must help them. My happiness waving them off at the ferry port, seeing their smiles and expectant hope, is tinged with the knowledge I have that the road ahead for them will be far from easy. It is a long one, a cold one, through a bitter winter, with closed, suspicious borders, and it will probably be a brutal one, and for some, a fatal one. I have such a sinking feeling for them. I know what the camps ahead of them are like: muddy, stinking, rat-infested, cold, inhumane pits. Those that make it to Northern Europe will no doubt have lost some of that hope along the way, as the reality creeps in that for some, a happy life in Europe will always be just out of reach.